Welcome to Inside Auto Podcast, where we feature everyone and anyone you'd want to talk to in and out of the automotive industry.
Ilana Shabtai here, host of Inside Auto Podcast, where we interview top dealers, GMs, marketers, entrepreneurs, and thought leaders in and out of the automotive industry. And before we introduce today's guest, this episode is sponsored by FullPath.com. FullPath is automotive's leading customer data and experience platform, CDXP. FullPath enables dealers to turn their first-party data into lifelong customers by unifying siloed data sources and leveraging that data to create hyper-personalized, exceptional customer experiences. To learn more, visit fullpath.com. Today, we're welcoming Colin Day to the show. Colin, thanks for joining.
Thanks for having me.
Where are you in the world today?
Where am I in the world? I often ask myself that same question, but today you find me in Octopus European headquarters, which is in London, England.
Awesome. Well, your accent gives it away. Thank you for joining. Colin is Octopus EMEA Managing Director and VP of Business Development. He brings over 35 years of expertise in MarTech and fintech, also opening up his own consultancy, which he's done and founded, which is really, really cool. So we'll talk a little bit about that. And 4 years ago, Colin joined Octopus, where he continues to drive strategic leadership, operational excellence, and sometimes MCs on the side, which I got to experience firsthand, which is really fun. Colin's also passionate about mentoring emerging leaders and sharing his knowledge of the evolving digital landscape. So we'll talk about that. Hopefully you can give us some advice. Thanks again for joining.
Thank you for having me. And it makes me sound very old when you say 35 years worth of experience, right? And I guess these aren't laughter lines, are they?
Well, you know what? No one would ever guess. Okay, so let's dive right into. I want to talk a little bit about like how you got to Octopus and what that journey was like, and what challenge you guys are solving for businesses. But before we get to that, what speaks to me specifically is like the mentoring aspect of your experience, right? So what are you telling emerging leaders today specifically about digital landscape, generative AI? How should leaders today be preparing for what's coming in digital? Can you talk a little bit about like what you've been focusing on lately?
Yeah, I mean, sure. I mean, look, the one thing that's constant is change, Elena, right? It's like change is the one thing that's not going away. Everything else, who knows, right? But from a business perspective, one thing that we're always going to be challenged with is change. So it's how do we become change agents, right? Inside our roles and inside our businesses. How do we embrace change rather than fear change? Because it's human nature, right? It's human nature for us to fear the unknown, right? It's the fight or flight. It's like mentality of our forefathers when they were out hunting, or forebearers, whatever the correct term is, right? But when they were out, hunting and living in the caves, right? It was, do I fight or do I run? Yeah, and that's, as business leaders, that's one of the scary things for us is change. So a lot of my focus over certainly the last 15, 20 years of my career has been, how do I coach the teams that work for me, work with me to embrace change and become that change agent and that change ambassador?
I love that approach. I was just talking to someone who just joined our team, our newest CISO, Shahar Maor, and he was talking about interviewing in the age of ChatGPT. And he talked about the evolution of hating ChatGPT to loving ChatGPT. And within a month, he goes, okay, forget it. I'm going to embrace ChatGPT. And I'm now going to decide that if I interview someone, the expectation is they actually know how to effectively and efficiently use ChatGPT. So that's a good example of kind of like embracing change, right?
And Ilana, you probably use ChatGPT, right, to create some of your scripts, right? Or some of the stuff that we've done from an Octopus perspective, right? It's like, if I think about some of my, strat plans for 2025 or even back in 2024, because, that's when it started to come out, right? Yeah. It's like, using those technologies, to help you or assist you, with your work, right? In guardrails, right? Putting rails like down to help guide the team or the individual, but using those technologies to help you become more efficient, and do some of the heavy lifting for you. I mean, how often do you get stuck, right, writing formula for Excel spreadsheets or Google Sheets, right? Hey, just put what it is you want. It's like tell in human language, right? Tell the model what you want, and it will go and create it for you. I was doing only that last night as I was building a new price book for the business.
Yeah, it's actually incredible because it really can make you just so much more efficient. So
It's not going to
great.
replace your job, right?
Yeah,
Because you
yeah,
still need to give it the prompts and the guidance, and
yeah.
when the thing that will replace us, right, is when it becomes general AI, but not generative AI. Generative AI still needs the human to give it the prompts and the direction.
Yeah. And by the way, I don't use ChatGPT for my scripts, but I should start using
Ah, you
ChatGPT
should
for my
do. There you go.
scripts.
There
So
you go.
thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, shifting gears a bit to
Hint number one, or tip
yes,
number one, right? It's
exactly.
like, there
Thank
we
you
go.
so much. What a great mentorship to the emerging leaders. I very much appreciate it. Hands-on example. Let's talk a little bit about Octopus. It's been 4 years. I know that your journey has been really great there. It's a great team. I know the team over here in Tel Aviv. Talk a little bit about Octopus, what challenge Octopus is solving, and what companies should be thinking about when it comes to employee engagement, social media, and then we'll try to shift it a little bit to dealerships because I do know you guys also work with
Sure.
a few dealerships as well, and we want to think about everything in the lens of automotive here, but also outside of automotive because oftentimes automotive gets influenced from outside.
Sure. And I've got a disclaimer. My eldest son works for Ford, so I don't know if that
Oh,
if that actually precludes me from being on your podcast, because friends and family
no, he should
of
have come on.
there you
We
go,
should have
there you
had
go.
him.
He works in IT as well, but
Amazing.
so a story for another day,
Yeah,
Ilana. But
have
look,
to bring him
if
on.
you said that my journey with Octopus started 4 years ago. That's true. That's when I joined the team to become the managing director for EMEA and VP of Business Development. But my journey with Octopus actually started back in 2015. Company was founded in 2013 by two amazing founders out in Tel Aviv, Daniel and Liad. I was their first enterprise customer back in 2015. So I've sat on the client side. I used to be the chief technology officer for global marketing for a large financial technology company called FIS. I was actually at FIS for 18 years. But I came across Octopus as I was taking that organization, or part of a team that was taking that organization through a sales transformation, right? It's like historically we'd been a house of brands rather than a branded house, right? And we were getting ourselves really aligned to selling centrally, right? To bringing stuff back into a central team and having one go-to-market rather than 50 different go-to-markets or 500 different go-to-markets. So what started off as a sales transformation project, quickly morphed into bringing marketing into that conversation as well, right? Because selling's a team sport, and an important part of that team is marketing, right?
Yeah.
So I was tasked with trying to find a platform that we could use inside our sales organization to empower them to take branded content out to their own social networks, right? It's like this is going back to 2015, right? So social was a pretty new thing and very, very new for B2B organizations.
Right.
So our sellers, although they may have had a presence on X or Twitter back then, it's like on Facebook, on Instagram, on LinkedIn, from a business perspective, they didn't really know what to say, right? And that's part of the problem that Octopus solves from a social selling perspective is, as a central marketing team, or maybe the HR team from a employer branding perspective, can create content on the platform and then easily share it, with the wider organization, such as the sales team or anyone that's really customer focused, but put it in the hands of those individuals and then empower them to quickly schedule it and share it out over those personal networks. And then what we do is we capture the insights about who's engaging with that content, bring that back and put it into the right hands or the right person in the organization. That may be sales, it may be marketing, it may be customer success, but empower them to understand who's engaging with that content that's gone out either over the corporate pages or employees page, personal profiles, bring it back into the organization to do something with it, and then ultimately tie it to revenue. So from a marketing perspective, I understand how organic social is impacting the sales activity of the organization.
That's really cool. I actually didn't I wasn't familiar with the data back to the company and bringing it back into the the marketing organization or whoever is responsible for figuring out that target market and who's actually engaging with the content. So that's a really cool piece. And when I think about this within the automotive structure, and again, I'd love to hear from you how your clients are using it. And I'm assuming it's pretty similar, but I think about the automotive sales guys that are on TikTok and on Instagram and on LinkedIn and creating really funny, engaging content so that they can be personable, and specifically for automotive, also break down some of the stigmas about car salespeople, right? So I think it does like a little bit of two for automotive specifically, which is so interesting. And I'd love to hear your take on this. It's like, yes, of course, let's help the business. Let's promote the business. Let's put in their let's give them tools so that they can, be brand ambassadors for the dealership. But also along the way, something that's really important specifically with dealerships is making them personable, like making sure that they really are breaking down those stigmas so people enjoy and trust the people that are going to sell them a car, at least in the US. I don't know if the stigma is the same in the UK, but.
Well, trust, you bring an important thing into the equation there, right? The word trust. Yeah. And people buy from people, right?
Yeah.
Whether it be a car or whether it be, olives from Carmel Market in Tel Aviv, right? People are still buying from people, right? Whether it be B2B, B2C, B2G, whatever, right? So people are still buying from people. Mm-hmm. And people are buying from people they like.
Yep.
Right? Yeah. It's called social. When was the last time you were social with a brand?
Right. It's an interesting concept.
How do you have a conversation with a brand? Right. It's like maybe it was the airline company that you used for your summer vacation, right? The flight was late taking off, or they lost your luggage. Yeah. Or maybe it was the car dealership, and you had your car serviced, and there was a problem, right, with some follow-up. Maybe, I don't know, the sensors went out, the valves on the tire, right? Yeah. And you took to social to berate or have a conversation, but it's more like a monologue rather than a dialogue when it becomes a customer service issue, right? But so people are more likely to engage with social content that's gone out through an individual's channel. In actual fact, if you looked at statistics from the likes of LinkedIn will tell you they're 10 times more likely to engage with a LinkedIn post that's come from you or I versus from Octopost or Fullpath, right? So, and off the back of that, people are 7 times more likely to convert, whatever that may be. So it may be go to the dealership's website, if we're talking about like the automobile industry, right? Go to the websites, like download a white paper on the most recent, like Ford. Other brands do exist, but on the latest model of a particular car that you're interested in, right? All the way to maybe booking an appointment with a sales rep to go in and actually do a test drive or whatever it may be. So 7 to 10 times more likely to engage, and 7 times more likely to convert. So that's why social is such an important channel, right, for anyone in sales, whether it be the sale of a car, the sale of an RV, the sale of a piece of software.
Yeah. Can you talk, or I don't know if you have any data on this, but can you talk a little bit about the difference between B2C and B2B when it comes to this type of strategy?
Yeah, it's like look, great question. It's like when you think of B2C sales, yeah, typically it's transactional, right? And typically it's more likely to be impulsive, right? You're either going to buy it or you're not. Yeah. And the sales cycle is typically a lot shorter than what you would have in B2B, right? And from a B2B perspective, it's how do I keep someone engaged? How do I nurture them until such times that they're in a buying cycle? You could actually say that's also true in B2C because hey, maybe I'm an individual purchasing a car, right? It's like let's bring it back to automobiles, right? Maybe I'm an individual purchasing a car. Maybe I'm the purchaser at an organization buying a fleet, right? It's
Right.
like if we think about those two different purchases, right? It's like if I'm buying a car, I'm in the market to buy a car probably once every 12, 24, 36,
Right.
maybe 48 months, right? It's like and new versions of the cars are going to come out in that time, right? Whether it be electric or hybrid or whatever, right? It's like there's going to be new versions. If we think about the B2B side of that, the fleet purchase, right? That's going to be maybe on a 3 to 5 year turnaround. So it's a lot longer, right, in that cycle. So therefore, the tactics that I'm going to bring to bear in the sales and marketing and information exchange, right, or the value exchange between the buyer and the brand are going to be different because
Yeah.
I need to obviously on that second one on the fleet side of things, I need to keep someone engaged for a lot longer than I do on the B2C side.
Yeah. And it's actually an interesting point that you're bringing, which is that there's a difference between engaging them for the sale and engaging them for retaining. And we have to think of our employees as ambassadors for both, right? Like you want to keep your clients engaged for loyalty and you want to keep your clients engaged for new business. So it's just an interesting way to think about social content. It's so
And,
powerful.
and in the automobile space, right? It's like it depends on the dealership, right? The dealership may just be new cars, right? Maybe new cars, used cars. It may be new cars, used cars, and repairs and
Yeah.
servicing, right? So
Very different.
dependent upon what products you've got, right? Depends upon whether my strategies are just going to be new business sales or whether I need to retain, right? Because if there's a retention perspective, that could be how do I get more of the servicing dollars, right?
Yeah.
Or it could be how
Yes.
do I then think about how the individual is going to be chopping that car. Actually, chopping a car is probably a bad analogy. So I've got a daughter that's a police officer, and she would tell me off if I was talking about chopping cars. But maybe it's changing the car for
Yeah.
my next purchase, right? Do I stick with a brand? Do I stick with a dealership, or do I go to a different brand and I can only get that through a different dealership, right? So you got to think about the products and services you've got and the lifetime of the customer, not just one and done.
Yes. Lifetime value of the customer is extremely important. And I love how this plays a role in that too. So um, before we sign off here, I want to ask a really quick question on your predictions for digital marketing in 2025. It can be within the realm of social media and employee branding or outside of it. What do you think we're going to see from like a digital marketing perspective, video marketing perspective, anything you feel comfortable talking about? Like, what do you think, where do you think we're going?
Yeah, so that's a great question, right? And I think more AI, right? It's like
Mm.
and I think at the moment it's still generative, right? I think that there's a lot to run from a generative AI perspective.
Yeah.
I think we're only scratching the surface.
Yes.
I think you'll see more incorporation, of AI capabilities into core platforms such as your marketing automation platform, such as your CRM system, but also standalone. right? It's like I think more of us are getting familiar, with the use of the likes of ChatGPT, right? Others do exist now, but it was the first one to the market, and it's the one that everyone's familiar with the brand, right? It's like so I think you'll see more use of that. I think that a lot of the marketers that I've spoken to, whether it be leaders or whether it be practitioners, have been scared, right, to use ChatGPT or similar technologies, because they don't know what they can do with it, right? And it goes back to the fight or flight. It's like conversation that we had right at the top of the session, right? It's like so if I don't know what to do with it, sometimes we live so busy lives, right? It's like I don't have the time to invest in my own knowledge or upskilling, right? It's like but when I talk about any transformation, there are really 3 pillars to a transformation, Ilana, right? It's the mindset, it's the skill set, and it's the tool set that you've got, right? So, as I think about change, and I think about transformation, and I think about what's coming, do I have the right mindset to be able to embrace that change? And that goes back to that mentorship conversation that we had, right? Do I have the right skill set? The answer is probably no. So it's then a case of, do I have the right mindset to go and be able to get, upskilled, right? And then it's, do I have the right tool set to be able to, empower me, to make that change? Right? So, predictions for 2025, I think more, AI built into platforms, whether it's platforms such as Octopus from a social engagement perspective, whether it's the marketing automation or CRM system, or whether it be the social networks themselves as an example, right? It's like the other thing I think you'll see change, right, is the media, that is used, right? We're using the power of video or the power of of a podcast, right, today to get our message across. I think that you'll see more use, right, in 2025 of video, because we live busy lives and we love to consume, right? It's like in bite-sized snippets. I mean, if you look at my children, eldest one is 28, the one that works for Ford, another plug. If we look at the way that he watches TV, it's very different to the way that myself and my wife watch TV, right? We'll sit down and we'll watch the BBC or ITV, the terrestrial TVs in the UK, and we'll watch it as they put it out. But as a society, we're more used to consuming, right, content through streaming services, and we're more used to consuming content when we want it rather than when it's given to us. So I think you'll see more use of video, more use of bite-sized video, because it's just so much more engaging to the individual.
Everyone wants everything right now, and actually AI will very much help with that. So we're just all tied together.
And you can tell this face wasn't AI generated, Alina, because as I say, it's like, this is far too old. You could have got a better model otherwise.
I think you're doing great, Colin. Well, thank you so much for joining Inside Auto Podcast, and thank you for bringing some insight outside of automotive, from inside of automotive, best practices. That's what we like to talk about here. For our listeners, if you like this episode, please tune in, insideautopodcast.com. You can find us in all your favorite streaming channels. Thank you again, Colin.
Thanks for having me. Thanks, Alina.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to Inside Auto Podcast. Check out our other episodes with top entrepreneurs and industry leaders.